Guest this evening is Mr. Harshana Nanayakkara, who is now a member of the Executive Council of the NPP, affiliated, of course, with the JVP. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to please listen to this clip, which is from a social media website called Country First.
सामान्य महत्वरुंट बूरुओं के अमतने का अपास्य है भाई मामा बूरुओंट महत्या के अमतनो मामा विशेषයෙන් කියන්න කැමති ගෝඨාභය මහත්තයා ඇතුළු ඒ නඩේ මහත්වරුන්ට අද මේ රටේ පවතින තත්ත්වය ගැන හිතන්න මේ සෙට් එකේ අද පොලිස් නිලධාරීන්ට පහර දීමක් සිදු වුණා. ඒ කියන්නේ අද ජනතාවගේ පිබිදීමක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා. ආරක්ෂකයන්ට ආරක්ෂාවක් දෙන තත්ත්වයටපත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න මේ ඊයේ පෙරේදා ජාතිය ඇමතුවා ජනාධිපතිතුමා මේ ලංකාවේ සියලුම මිනිස්සු ඔහු අමතන්න මුළු ජාතියම ජනාධිපති ඇතුළු ඒ නඩේට අමතන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඔව් නිතරම කියන දෙයක් තමයි මම තමයි හොඳම කලේ කියලා. මම කියන්නම් මොකද්ද හොඳම කලපු හරිය? ලංකාවේ නෙමෙයි ලෝක ඉතිහාසයේ වැඩිම පොලිම දිගම පොලිම ලංකාවේ සිද්ධ වුණා. ගාමිණී ලොකුගේ කියනවා පොලිමේ වාහන 4යි තියෙන්නේ කියලා. ගණන් දන්නේ නැති ඇමති කෙනෙක් පත් කරලා තියෙනවා අවුරුදු 74ක්. අපි දුක් වෙන්න ඕනේ ලැජ්ජ වෙන්න ඕනේ ජනතාව. ගණන් කරන්න බැරි ඇමතිවරේ. ඔව් හොඳම කලේ කියලා මොනවාද කරේ? දිගම තෙල් පොලිම, දිගම ලාම්පු තෙල් පොලිම, දිගම පිටිකිරි පොලිම. මේක තමයි ඇති කරේ. අද වෙනකොට මිනිස්සු දෙන්නෙක් මැරිලා ඉවරයි. මිනිස්සු දෙන්නෙක් මැරිලා ඉවරයි. මේ කුඩා දරුවෝ බොන කිරිපිටි රුපියල් 800ක් කරලා ඉවරයි. සහගාන අපරාධ. මේක දිට්ඨ ධම්ම වේදනීය කර්ම යනවා පරිසම් දෙනවා. මේ මූණුවල් බලන්න. මේ අවුව වේලිගෙන තමන්ගේ කුඩා දරුවන්ට තමන්ගේ කිරිපැටියන්ට තමන්ගේ කිරි ටික දෙන්න තමයි මේ ඉන්නේ. දුක් විඳින්නේ. මේ සාපේ කවදාවත් හරියන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා මතක තියාගන්න මේ දිට්ඨ ධම්ම වේදනීය කර්මය කවදා හෝ පරිසම් දෙනවා. ඒ නිසා නැවතවතාවක් මම මේ කියන්නේ ජනතාවනි ඔබ තීරණය කරන්න ඕනේ අපි මේ සටන අවසානයේදී ගෙනියනවද නැත්නම් මෙරි ජීවත් වෙනවද කියලා. අද ආරක්ෂක නිලධාරියෙක්ට අත තියලා තියෙන හේතුව වෙයි මේ ජනතාවගේ පිබිදීම. මේ පිබිදීම ඔබේ ඡන්දය ඉදිරිපත් කරන වෙලාව ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න. මේ කාලකන්ණි ඇත්තෝ ඊටත් වඩා ඉන්න ඕනේද නැත්ද කියන එක තීරණය කරන්න. මේ හැමෝගෙම හිතේ තියෙනවා පිබිදීමක් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. මේ අදහස සම්පූර්ණයෙන් ඔබ දායි කියලා බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
The people's social distress is very clear after we've listened to that clip. There are quite literally thousands of people who are saying the same thing, although we haven't been able to collect or collate all those, but this is one clip that is representative of the people's social distress, the lack of almost everything essential. Now then, as I said, my guest this evening is Mr. Harshana Nanayakkara, attorney at law. He's also now on the Executive Council of the NPP, a party that the JVP is a component member of. Harshana Nanayakkara, we spend so much on our airtime. We get experts in, we report on the people's social distress, on the matters that affect the people. Honestly, is there any point? Because we appear to be dealing with a set of legislators and the executive who are apparently blind and deaf, and in some cases, like that person just now, the member of the public on that clip, said they're quite literally dumb. They're claiming that, oh, the fuel lines or the queues is maybe 4 or 5 cars. Absolute rubbish, complete rubbish. Why, Harshana Nanayakkara, should we be listening to this absolute tosh?
We should not be listening at all. In fact, for us, right now, people are not listening. The government lost control about a year ago. Immediately after coming into power, within the first 6 months, this government, including the executive president, demonstrated that they are completely numb. Their conscience is completely numb to the pain the people are going through. Look at, I mean, I also watch TV just like you, and I see what's happening in the queues. People are falling, collapsing. 3 people have died.
3 people have died, even though on that clip that person said 2, but it's actually now 3. 3 people have died standing in these queues.
And 1 is a fight and a stab injury, a full dispute.
Yeah.
Now, what has this government done about any of these things? They just don't care. The only thing they did right was withdrawing the court cases against their family and friends. Nothing else was done. And also, I mean, your viewers are intelligent. I don't have to talk about their corruption and waste. I will not talk about it. But right now, where is the country heading? country is heading towards hopelessness and lawlessness. Let me tell you, I think I heard somewhere recently even the police will be attacked very soon, because the pain and the frustration of people will be first taken on these innocent police officers. We are inching every day towards lawlessness simply because we have a president and a cabinet and a parliament who just does not give a damn, to use no other word.
But they're not listening in. There are silent protests all over the country. It's growing in numbers. And surely these citizens are brothers and sisters of Sri Lanka. Surely they've got better things to do than stand out there and silently protest. You know, there are people, they go to one queue, they go to another queue, and then they have to stand in there. And what's worse, you know, the frustration. I spoke to a colleague who went to get diesel. He was in his vehicle for 5 hours. And when it did come to his turn, there was no diesel.
Protesting in silence, soon they will become very noisy, because you cannot contain the hunger and the frustration of the people. Soon the silent protests will be louder. And believe me, this government will not go unless the people are noisy about it. It's a democratic right of the people to take it onto the streets, protest without breaking the law. That's part of democracy. Asking him to go home is part of freedom of speech. Hooting at him, part of freedom of speech. And people should exercise it more and more if you want to send this fellow before the end of his term.
But our president said in his speech to the nation, he said that he was invited to be the president.
I doubt it very much, because if Mahinda Rajapaksa could have contested a third time, there wouldn't have been a Gotabaya Rajapaksa anywhere. But I put it to you, Harshana Nanayakkara, that the people didn't invite him to contest. It was his brothers who invited him to contest. I agree with you. And then,
of course, 6.9 million people voted.
Were misled into voting. And today that 6.9 million is not there with them. In fact, the most...
Where is the security that they promised us? There is no food security, there is no energy security, there is zilch, zilch, zilch.
When the president spoke about national security, we said keeping guns and army and putting army soldiers is not part of national security. It's about food security. It's about peace. It's about security for businesses, investment, our trees, our jungles, our waterways. This is national security. People were misled into believing, especially through some media stations, that he is the hero that they were waiting for. And of course,
he may be their hero for them.
Not anymore.
For a bunch of people who have enjoyed political patronage, and, you know, for various people who were subject to court cases, whose cases were thrown out on technicalities. And what's worse, and you should know better about this, that, you know, whilst these cases have been thrown out, there is provision for these cases, some of them, to be refiled, but there is utter silence from whichever party should bring these matters to court.
For us, I must tell you, we have put this in our policy as well. Now remember, the Attorney General is the one who withdraws, and he for most part doesn't even give reasons for his withdrawal. I think the honorable judges should insist on reasons why the case are being withdrawn, because when you file a case, AG files with evidence, but if he's going to withdraw them without calling evidence, then there's a question. Secondly, the commission, bribery commission, most of these cases get thrown away because of a signature.
Yes, because instead of three, only one would have signed, or two.
But these cases can be reinstituted.
But they're not doing that.
They're not doing that because one is they are the same ones who are getting the benefit out of this withdrawal of indictments. We have promised one thing, and we will carry it out. We have promised in black and white. That is, all these cases will have to be reopened and reinvestigated. Attorney General is only responsible to the Parliament. So if we have a government with majority, we will call the Attorney General and see why he's been withdrawing these indictments. But if there are people for some reason have been concealing evidence, remember, this is not a part of political victimization. We believe in rule of law and democracy. But the AG has to be questioned in this regard. In a parliament, only the Parliament can do that, and we will do it. Secondly, we will use the Bribery Act as well as the Money Laundering Act very efficiently to recover stolen public funds. That's a promise we have given in black and white in our government.
Now then, I want to ask you this question. Isn't it time that the JVP, because we all know this NPP is there, but the force behind it is the JVP. You know, Shakespeare said something about what's in a name. This rose still smells the same and all that lark. But forget about Shakespeare and roses. Isn't it time that the JVP issued a public apology to the citizens of this country, the sovereign people of this country, to apologize for the absolute mayhem that they caused back in the days to the economy and so on? Isn't it time?
Are you referring to 88-89?
Yes.
All right, okay. Well, basically, if you take it out of context, first and foremost, they have I'm not the JVP, and the JP and NPP are different.
Yeah.
So I'd rather you point it towards a JP member, but I do know a little bit of the history. Many people talk about 88-89. Obviously, there were atrocities that were committed. It was a civil war. But many forget how and why it started. But nevertheless, the JP leadership, right throughout, for the last 5 to 6 years, have been issuing not apologies. Because if you know the context, you don't have to apologize. But they are upset, shocked, and promised that it will never happen again, not through them. And
what's so difficult about apologizing?
That is because you don't understand the context in which it happened. Not many people know, because that was not the part of history. But I can explain to you.
But you can't go around killing people and causing mayhem. No, it was a civil war. Now, you are not talking about the 60,000 people the government killed through PRA, the Batlan, the torture chambers, when people have been attacked violently. And how did it all start? It all started because the JP was banned for 1983 riots on the pretext that they were together with Russia trying to overthrow the government. You and I both know that is not the case of 83 July. Thereafter, they never took weapons to their hands. They wrote to the courts. They wrote to the European Parliament, asked the ban to be lifted. Then they banned their trade unions. They did not take weapons. They took weapons. When in 87, when India lashed us with DAL, when 150,000 army soldiers landed here, when Mahinda Rajapaksa himself said, what if those soldiers came down, the boys are fighting for that. People forget. The provincial council thing was signed without the approval of parliament or without the cabinet seeing it. I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
Violence is wrong for us. Violence is wrong. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But don't. Violence doesn't happen out of context.
Harshana, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But when I travel around and I listen to people, what I find is that the youth who probably don't know about it and they weren't even born, they're willing to consider the JVP, the NPP, as a alternative force. However, it is the parents of those children, the older people, who remember these things with horror. And so how on earth is the JVP, the NPP is apparently now gaining ground, right? I believe that the public have got completely fed up that after 74 years of giving it either here or there and variations thereof, they're now looking at this other party as a force that they can rely on. So isn't it better to put the minds of those others, the older people who can remember these things, to rest?
Well, I think 88-89, now in 2004, when they contested the Bulat Kole, you remember they sent 42 members to the parliament, right? So 89 is closest to 2004. If you claim that people are impacted by it, we wouldn't have come 42 members to the parliament. Vijitha Herath came number 1 in Gampa, above 100. So therefore, I believe there are certain wrongs that happened, which is wrong at any rate. But if you look at the context, I can also say, my father's a member of the provincial council. I was a victim of JP violence too, my family. We were. And we were angry at the time. But true. So we are the NPP.
Yeah.
You are trying to equate NPP with JP, which is not the case, right? They are different. What I'm trying to say is,
thank you very much for your questions. Thank you very much for your questions. SMS, WhatsApp, 0772 300 305. They're doing their job right. The thing will come up on your screen. But it's 0772 300 305. Now then, thank you. And here's one. It is time the NPP stroke JVP and all opposition parties leave their ideology aside and come together on behalf of the people and make the necessary change.
The question is suggesting that we get together with whom?
All the opposition. All the opposition. All the opposition.
That seems to be the common request.
Yes, and is it something that y'all are going, as long as the opposition stays divided, there is no point shouting their heads off because zilch will happen.
That gentleman, just like everybody else, is thinking how to remove the government, which is very important. That is number one. But we have to be careful about what we replace this with. In 2015, the people did their job by removing the Rajapaksa's corrupt regime. But the Yahapalan regime brought back in guys because of their conduct, should be behind bars. Now, when people say all opposition must get together, are we going to get joined with those who created this problem? Because we want to solve the problem. And except for Ravi Karnanayaka and maybe Ranil Wickremesinghe, everybody else is there in the SJB. They are new part, not a new party in my mind. So what I'm trying to say is that we have created a forum at National People's Power. Yes, we will discuss with almost everybody, because even at the UMP, SJB, there are honest men and women, and we are willing to work with them, and we are willing to work with the public. So therefore we will get together, but just for the sake of throwing over government without knowing what we are going to replace it with, I don't think we are going to solve any of the issues faced by the country. So thank you for the question.
And on that note, let's go for a quick break and look at this evening's headline news and be back with Mr. Harshana Nanayakkara, who's of course from the NPP. Let's see you on the other side of the break, shall we?
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
TV1 Rasvidena Jivite.
Queues continue to burden Sri Lankans. A coral letter queue ends in a murder. Protesters block roads demanding fuel. Sri Lanka's latest loan from China. Parties boycott all-party convention.
මේ කැඳවා තිබෙන සර්වපාක්ෂික සමුළුව කියන ප්‍රෝඩාවට ජාතික ජන බලවේගයේ සහභාගීත්වය.
TV1 Rasvidena Jivite.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And welcome back to Newsline Live. I'm in conversation with a member of the NPP, Mr. Harshana Nanayakkara. Thank you for this question. I'm going to take it almost fully. To take this regime out, they ought to have a common presidential candidate chosen by all the opposition. Why not, for example, Harini, who's a member of the NPP? Why can't you all join together and put out a common candidate, not when the election is announced, but now, and work towards that now? Why can't you do that?
First and foremost, part of the answer I gave for the earlier question before the break. We work as a team. Our positions are given not for any glory, but to carry out a particular task. We bear based on a program, of a common program. We don't believe one individual can, like a magician, fix all the problems. So whoever is the most suitable will be given the task by the NPP.
So you're saying that right now you all don't know who would be the leader?
We know
the candidate.
No, candidate we have not announced, and we will announce it when the elections are closed. However, when you say
why
about getting together,
so close to your chest?
well, that's how we operate, because for us it doesn't matter who the candidate is, because whoever the candidate, whether it's Andhra or Harini or anyone who comes in, we carry out, or me, right? Simply we carry out the program of the party. But getting together to overthrow this government is the easy part for us. Even let me tell this gentleman who asked the question, or a lady, I do not know, that...
Nor do I, by the way.
Getting rid of this government is not going to solve any of the problems, but that will be the start to solve the problems. But
well, the people are talking about change because they're frustrated at the lack of delivery. And as that man said, as that person on that clip said, you know, Sri Lanka is the only country in the world where we've got so much of blessed queues for every blessed thing, including passports. And I'm told that even driving licenses, they can't issue any because apparently they don't have any papers, subject to me being corrected.
That's correct. Even the electricity bills, now they say it out of words. So now what I'm trying to tell you is this for us. True, I see the urgency, and that's why we are even on the 23rd, NPP is carrying out a mass rally and a protest in Newgate on the 23rd of this month. But it is pointless removing this regime unless you know what you're going to replace it with. Just because you change heads and party heads and whatever, it's not going to solve the problem. We need to see the program.
Mr. Harshana, the shortest way to solve our problem is you take an initiative to go for a general strike and ask the fools to get out of the country.
We don't have to ask for a general strike because the country is collapsing anyway. People are not going to be able to work without fuel, without gas, without electricity. Tourists are not going to come. The government is failing on its own. But as that gentleman or lady has pointed out, yes, we are carrying out mass protests. And I'm telling the people, protesting is a right of the democratic society. Don't wait till we say, oh, you do it. You do it on your own. You have your MPs around in your villages. Go to their houses and demonstrate. So therefore, we are firm that this country cannot go an inch forward, a day forward with this lot at the help. And we are doing whatever necessary public agitations as a part of our democratic right to remove this government. And I assure your public, we will not let this man go on for 3 years.
I am going to take this question. I am what is known to be a part of the millennium youth. Seeing the state of our country, I am willing to side with the JVP/NPP. However, I am fed up of fake promises and lies bringing our country down. How and what will the NPP do to bring us out of this mess? Will we have a superior leader like now or a more democratic leadership?
Thank you very much for the young gentleman, whoever it is, asked me the question. Your crowd here watching this is intelligent. We cannot give them false promises, and neither have we ever done that, right? We are a team of people working together for a particular policy. And if you look at our usage, we have been honest. First thing the politician must do in this country is set an example to the public. We assure you, we will not ask for a single privilege more than an average citizen in this country gets. We will stop waste. We will stop corruption. We will not take permits. We will not do business. For the first time in this country, people will see a party converting politics back into a community service, and that's us.
And tell me about the potential policies of the NPP. People who own 2 or 3 houses, properties, and so on. One of them said to me, and he was also a part of this millennium youth. I met him the other day, and he said, "Oh my God, why would you consider them?" Because I said, "Why not?" And then he said, "Well, you know, they'll put sort of brakes on property ownership, asset ownership. They'll say we'll have to live with one house. You know, I've made enough money. I want to be able to have 3, 4, 5 houses if that's what I want."
I'll be very quick on this. I'll answer the question.
But it's not a laughing matter, though.
No, I'm not laughing. But
no.
See, I'm very seriously taking this.
Yes. Okay.
Now let's assume for a moment that is true. Let's assume for us that you have 2 houses because you have worked hard, honestly, lawfully. Now, if I take a house away from you, what's going to happen? You're going to stop working. Why should I work? Because the government is going to take my stuff. And what about the poor guy? He's going to think, I don't have to work. I get a house from the government anyway. So if that kind of a policy is started by us.
What kind of, very quickly, what kind of economic policy?
That's what I'm going to tell you, right? Basically, then the country will collapse within a month because there's no production. So therefore, that's a falsehood, a manufactured idea just being spreading in society by our political opponents. Look at our economy. First and foremost, we are not advocating for a closed economy, open economy, but a far more humane one. And
what precisely do you mean by that?
Well, basically, right now, the open economy you have, the neoliberal policies are not safeguarding the people, right? We will regulate the private sector, but private sector will be the engine of our growth. Small and medium scale developers, businesses, will find us the most friendly government.
Can you give me maybe 3 things that your party will do like almost an instant solution? Like what?
There are no instant solutions for this crisis, but I can explain our program. We have made short-term, long-term and mid-term.
Yes,
right?
What's the short-term?
What we have, the short-term one, what you see as a dollar crisis is actually a political crisis, right?
You want to say that there are dollars?
They're talking about dollar crisis, no? I'm saying it's a political crisis of corruption and waste. No investor is going to come into a country where there's such a high risk, uncertainty and volatility. First, you must create the necessary political environment, stability necessary for investors to come. And day one, when we get the power, because we are honest and committed individuals, we will be able to bring in dollars. But don't ask me for time limits, because we are going to work with the public. But couple of things I say. How do we earn dollars? Exports, remittances from expats, FDIs. Now, right now, as we speak, I'm saying this with certainty and responsibility. There are no instant, quick, fix solutions. We are going towards a painful death now, and our climbing up will also be painful, where we will ask, the public has made their commitment, public has made enough sacrifices. It's the rulers who are not doing it, it's the politicians who are not doing it. So that will be done. So first and foremost, I think, because you want a quick one, I have to tell you this, but this is not the only one.
No.
Which comes in a context.
Yeah.
One of the main things for remittances would be our expatriate community.
Yeah.
Right? Basically, we have a, I mean, contrary to common belief, we have a lot of international contacts and offices right around the world. And we are working with investor forums and especially Sri Lankan expats who are living there.
Okay.
Right? As a result of which, their only request is this: you create us an atmosphere and an environment to come and invest and make a profit. We would love to do that. So therefore, within the first few months, every day you will see that we are getting remittances and we are moving forward. That is only one of the ways, because you have to bring confidence back in of the investors, and believe me, dollars will start rolling in.
Here's a message from Saudi Arabia. Thank you for watching. They want to, whoever is this, is asking whether if your party comes in, would you take a position where the people who are Sri Lankans or resident outside on work and so on, whether they can go up to the embassy and vote there like several other countries allow?
Our party is the only party, especially Handunethi, Comrade Handunethi, who looks into it. We have to do that. Just because they go to work for 2 years, them being deprived of a voting right is terrible. In fact, this can be done, and our Comrade Handunethi has been working on it. But we have never been in the seat of power. Yes, we'll definitely look at it, because other countries do it.
So, you know, as we come towards the end of our program, couple of minutes more, I suppose, what on earth can the people do? Are these protests going to work?
They will work. For us,
when is your protest coming up?
23rd of this month, Nugegoda, you will see the crowds. And they're not just our party. So many are calling and coming in. They say, we are going to come with you. I said, yes, please do. Because you see, this government will not hear us. This parliament won't hear us. They have to be removed using all democratic means necessary. And that means the silent protest holding candles must turn noisy. Otherwise, they won't go.
Will the JVP bring a motion, very quickly though, will the JVP bring a motion in Parliament to suspend all remuneration and benefits to parliamentarians?
Yes.
Well, that was very quick.
Yeah, because we have already said it.
All right.
Not all perks, more like it.
You too should pay your own bills with your money if you become ministers and not be given any perks. You've already said that.
I've already, yes.
All right.
That's how we are going to prevent waste. First, we must set an example to the people, then ask the people to follow.
And thank you very much, Harshana Nanayakkara. Believe it or not, we've come to the end of the program. Now then, after the prime time news, we will have Face the Nation, and we will also have members of the public who are carrying out these silent protests. So do tune in on TV1 soon after the prime time news to Face the Nation, hosted by Shamir Rasuddin. It's not a plug, I'm just telling you what's going to happen. And it's a very interesting panel. And on that note, let's thank Harshana Nanayakkara once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you for us.
And on that note, take care, and as always, God bless you.